Injuries are just part of the game in fantasy football. They change things up from week to week with their lineups, with the NFL game. They're not fun, but they're something we have to deal with. And they do also grant some other players some new opportunity, some new life, some opportunity to score some fantasy points, some opportunity to prove themselves. That's also good to see for some of these young players. But a big injury happened this week with JK Dobbins. He's been dealing with injuries off and on throughout his career, especially with the knee injury. Now he's got the Achilles injury. He's going to be out for the season. And now Gus Edwards and Justice Hill is going to get the opportunity to showcase what they can do. Today we're going to be looking at Justice Hill. We're going to be looking at stats and seeing whether or not you need him in fantasy football, whether or not you need to pick him up off the waiver wire. Before we dig into this, you have to click that subscribe button. Click it with the mouse, tap it with the finger on your phone, because we're going to dig into stats. We're going to do the deep dive. We're going to help you in the waiver wire, win trades, set those lineups, and help you win that fantasy football league. But let's take a look at Justice Hill. Let's take a look at the numbers. We're going to also talk about Gus Edwards, of course. First off, Ravens running back JK Dobbins tears his Achilles, out for the season. I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy about any running back or any player getting hurt. That's just not cool. But it's just sad to see, because Dobbins has been dealing with injuries off and on throughout his career. Some serious ones too, especially that knee injury. And then coming back, had another knee issue last year. And now it's just sad to see. And then we go over here to Harbaugh. He's saying that they're going to replace him in-house. So pretty much Justice Hill and Gus Edwards, come on down. Let's see what you guys can do. That's going to give them some opportunity to prove themselves, opportunity to do some things in the offense. However, coach speak's a real thing. Sometimes these coaches, they're not telling us the truth, or a lot of times they're not telling us the truth, and that means they might be bringing in a Leonard Fournette or a Kareem Hunt somewhere down the line. Plus, Harbaugh doesn't make all the decisions. There's this thing called a front office. So really, you're just going to have to be Bayesian with this. So this does not mean that Hill or Edwards is going to be the guy here in the next few weeks. So you got to plan for that. You got to plan for that attack when you're making your waiver wire move. But looking here at Justice Hill yesterday or Sunday, scored 2 touchdowns, 9 yards. Had some good fantasy production. Gus Edwards, 8 carries, 32 yards. This offense was really distributing the touches here, really moving it around. JK Dobbins was the guy, then he got hurt. He was looking good as well. 2.8 yards per carry though. But the Ravens were humming in this game. 110 yards between Lamar Jackson and company here on the ground. But we're looking at Justice Hill. We're looking at him. We're looking at his collegiate profile as well, because he came out for the draft here in 2019, 4th round pick, 5'10", 198 pounds. But what we're interested in is the explosiveness, the speed, because that could make him a home run hitter. He was very productive at Oklahoma State, a fun running back to watch. Good burst score, good 40-yard dash, good speed score. A guy that, given enough opportunity, a guy that could see the second level of the defense, could really be a home run hitter. And that's why fantasy gamers should be interested in Justice Hill. If he gets enough opportunity, he could give you some fantasy production. And in looking over his production with the Ravens these last few years, it really hasn't been much. He can be used in the passing game a little bit. He can be used in the run game, but he hasn't really got his opportunity to prove himself. We're going to see that now. He's dealt with some injuries, but we've always had somebody in front of him to really carry the load. So now we get to see what he can do. The schedule will give him and Gus Edwards some opportunity to do some things. We have to see how things shake up, how these defenses are going to interact with each other, how the game scripts are going to be like, how Vegas is going to really look at these games. But opportunity is opportunity, and you're going to be watching these running backs and see what they're going to be doing. You need him if you want to gamble on his explosiveness. You want a piece of this Ravens running game. You want him or Edwards. Him or Edwards. Edwards might be the guy because he's the incumbent. In 2020, he has proven to be a very good running back, very efficient, can be productive. That's the thing about that. But Justice Hill's got the upside with the speed and explosiveness. That's something you may want. But you don't want him because you like Gus Edwards. You like him better. You've seen what he did back in 2020. He had some injuries that set him back. Now he's back. You also think Lenny Fournette or Kareem Hunt will take over. You think they'll bring in another running back. You think they'll have another running back get some opportunities? You think it's going to potentially be a mess? You think it's going to be a headache? You don't want any part of this? You think it's going to be a full-blown committee? Which it might be. And what I think about this is that this is something you may not want to touch. Just because it says you need X player in the title doesn't mean I want to say you need the player. This is a player that you may want to just wait and see what happens with. You don't need to chase everybody. But if you're decimated, if you need a running back really bad, if you want one on the cheap, just see what happens. If you want a stash, if you're in a deeper league, if you got some extraordinary circumstances here right now that you want to take a gamble on a Justice Hill, or maybe just pick up a Gus Edwards, then go ahead. But this might be messy. This might be ugly. And you got fab money that you want to last the whole year. And you might have some running backs still, which you should. Most teams should have some running backs still on the roster who are healthy, ready to go. And their lineup should be okay and intact. You don't really have to turn and burn unless it's straight up upside. Like, say some rookie got dropped, like a Rashawn Johnson or somebody like that you can hammer your hat to or whatever. But again, when you're looking at this rushing attack, you want to read the tea leaves here. If you're thinking Justice Hill is your guy because of the explosiveness, then get him. But I'm really thinking you need to just wait and see this one out. There's some other running backs I like that are waiver wire claims. I think Joshua Kelly is probably my number one from this week. Pure waiver wire. There are some rookies like Rashawn Johnson or Tank Bigsby who should be rostered as stashes for the long term. But if they're on the waivers, you want to look at them as well. I really want to wait and see what this Ravens offense does. I wouldn't be surprised they bring in another running back, even though they said they're not. They're saying that they're going to stay in-house. I look for them to possibly bring in another guy eventually. Also, I think Lamar Jackson's going to run it a good bit. And they got Zay Flowers, too. And Mark Andrews is going to be back. I think things aren't going to be super sticky. And the thing about this, say they are running a committee and they're doing well, it's going to be hard to know who to start. But if you're starting to get decimated in injuries, you may want one of these guys. You may want one of these running backs. I think Gus Edwards might have a better opportunity since he has been the incumbent, has proved himself to do well, but also Hill's explosive. And I've seen a lot of people go the Edwards route, and I could see it, but I can also tell you the story on the Hill route. Pick your poison with this backfield, probably going to be a committee, probably going to bring somebody in. It's probably going to be nasty for a bit. You're probably not going to know who to start from week to week, but if you need somebody, you need somebody. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about it. Make sure you hit